to Bloody Good Horror.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and tonight we will be discussing The Dead Don't Die. It's a movie, Bill Murray, and like 90 other people. That's what we're doing tonight. First up, joining me, full crew tonight, back in the house from Chicago, Illinois. Please welcome Joe.
When's the last time we've had like the actual team and not just a bunch of scumbags filling in?
It's probably been like a month, maybe.
The top 25 we were all here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. One Cut of the Dead, episode 543.
Joe's rocking the lumber sexual look tonight. I like it.
That's right. Emphasis on the sexual.
Next up on the show, he's the business manager at bloodygoodhorror.com, coming to us from Manhattan, New York City, with 1.75 shoulders. Please welcome John Schnars to the show.
Eric, how are you?
I'm good. And much like you, I am old, so I understand shoulder pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was, I wouldn't say self-inflicted, but it's all up from here. I'm on an upward trajectory.
Yeah. Well, that's great to hear, John. We'll get to that in a second. Next up on the show, coming to us from Hotlanta, Georgia. What am I supposed to say, Cece? Something about something, A-Town down, something? We decided last week.
Jesus Christ. I don't know that. I mean, just.
So G's up, A-Town down. I remember that Snoop Dogg song. That was pretty good.
Okay.
Joe knows what I'm talking about.
Hi. Glad, I think, to be here. I'm not sure anymore.
CC, welcome to the show.
Yes.
You are
I remember
always...
something about Atlanta being down. I don't remember how it went, though.
You're always glad to be here, CC. Don't pretend.
I do remember bulldogging suckers like the Georgetown Hoyas.
And last up tonight, joining us, the big dog of Bloody Good Horror. Please welcome Casey.
Rough.
That's right. Nice.
I thought you were be like rough
All right.
Riders.
I like it. 500 episodes in, we're still workshopping it. I like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we are here tonight to talk about The Dead Don't Die. This is directed by a Mr. Jarmusch. John, familiar with this guy?
It's a Jarmusch joint.
Yeah, a JJ. This came out in theaters a few months ago. We missed it, so we decided to pick it up now before the end of the year, see how we all felt about it. We're going to discuss that in a minute, but first up, my two friends back in the show. Wanted to catch up really quick with you guys. John, where have you been, just so people know that you don't, it's not that you hate them.
I mean, I might hate them. I haven't met a lot of them, but so I don't want to pass judgment. No, I mean, so I had shoulder surgery. I was on the show the week I had the shoulder surgery, which in retrospect, terrible idea. I'm pretty sure I was a little out of it. Probably wasn't making a ton of sense. I can't remember what movie that was. That was like 3 weeks ago. I mean, I only missed two. I had to be on work travel, and then the other one was like, I kind of came to my senses about having one arm and trying to deal with my children and all that.
I bet a shoulder sling in the airport's a blast.
It's not great. The sleeping because I had to wear an immobilizer. I don't know if I told you all about the immobilizer when I was sleeping. That was the worst. So tonight's my first time without one. Yeah, I'm very excited.
Mobilized. That's exciting. It's great to have you mobilized.
Yeah, I have a pretty effective sleep immobilizer. It's called acid reflux.
Jesus Christ. It's funny because the pillow I bought a wedge pillow to sleep on that like kind of keeps me a little elevated.
That's how I sleep.
Yeah, no, it's sold for acid reflux people. So now I know what it's like being Eric, I guess.
Yep. I was a stomach sleeper too. Do you know what kind of horror I went through trying to turn myself into a back sleeper?
You know what? I was
horror.
I was just tired enough most days that I just passed out.
Well, and I stopped sleeping on my back ever because that's when I would get like sleep paralysis and have night terrors and stuff for some reason when I was on my back. So
Now you're just in those stirrups and you hang upside down, basically.
Although I did
Or
notice,
it's
like every
just-
once in a while now, because my stomach's a lot better, and I'll like sleep on my stomach, and I wake up and I'm like, oh, my lower back hurts when I sleep on my stomach.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like, you know,
Well, you gotta have a firm mattress.
Yeah.
I think.
oh,
We
I-
did get a couple.
Wow, guys, this talk is like whew, exhilarating.
We did get a couple of people on Instagram asking if John actually really did quit the show because I think we made jokes about it.
Guys, I would tell you maybe. So
Maybe.
Would you? I mean,
I would tell the fans. I don't know if I would send you guys an email or not. That's up for debate.
So Joe, you have also returned to us tonight. I assume you've just been out watching nonstop weird 70s Disney movies for the last 2 weeks.
I couldn't tell you where I was the last 2 weeks. I don't remember. I know last week I couldn't make it because it was a theater watch and I couldn't make it in the movie. I don't. What was before the sleep guy, Doctor?
It was Lighthouse.
the
It was
light,
2
the
theater
lighthouse.
watches.
The
Oh wait,
lighthouse.
no, I saw Lighthouse.
Yeah, that's what I'm
thought-
saying. It's been a week.
No, you only missed one.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, I will be out the next 2 weeks, enjoying one beautiful Disney World followed by a Disney cruise.
That's great. Will you
Sick.
watch?
Goddamn
Will you
jealous.
watch Disney Plus while on these Disney destinations?
Well, we're driving, so I got Disney Plus
Ew.
fired up for the kid, because we just got a new minivan too, so we'll be streaming that through the TVs there. Gigantic fan of Disney Plus. I haven't opened Netflix in 2 weeks now.
Yeah, I've been watching their Clone Wars cartoon that was
Yeah.
really good, and the Mandalorian, which
Mandalorian,
So sweet.
unbelievable,
So good.
unbelievable.
yeah, so
Yeah.
good.
And I don't know if you guys have seen. There's this show. It may not interest you that much, but it's the story of Imagineering. Like pretty much,
I saw
it
that.
starts
yeah.
with how they built Disneyland, and the second episode gets into like how they moved on to Disney World after Walt died. Like, it is fascinating. Like, even if you're not a fan of the parks, like it is insane. Like the stuff, especially Disney World, the stuff they put in there. Like,
So you're pretty much watching with your pants off, basically.
it's just unreal. Like I feel like I've heard this before, but I didn't realize it, and it felt new when I was watching today. But Disney World is above, like, there's underground tunnels which really aren't underground. They're at like
Because the water
not-
level's like too
yeah.
high, yeah.
So Disney World is literally built like on top of these underground like
Yeah.
corridors.
Well, because wasn't that the famous thing that it was Orlando was basically just a giant swamp until they cleared
yeah.
it.
I mean, they had a ton of trouble like clearing out the land and doing all that shit. And
I might check it out. It sounds kind of fun.
It's really fascinating. Like the first episode might not be as exciting because it's more of like the story of how they got the funding and things like that. The second one where they get into Disney World is really like it's great. They start
That's
getting Epcot.
It's a hard pass for me. I'm just gonna put
Yeah.
it out there.
That's
Really?
what I feel like I asked, but I don't remember the words coming out of my mouth.
Uh,
I've also been enjoying on there the world of Jeff Goldblum.
Oh my god,
Oh.
it's so good.
yeah, I was gonna say I did
Sleeper
hear
hit.
good chatter for that. Yeah.
Sleeper hit.
Yeah.
It might have
Yeah.
just been Joe, and I might have discounted it because I feel like he's just building up all the Disney Plus stuff. So
I will say it's like I've definitely had some technical annoyances. Like I said, I was trying to watch through Clone Wars, and it doesn't seem to be tracking what episode I'm on at all, which is driving me batshit crazy.
Totally agree because my kids have been exploring Mickey Mouse's Clubhouse,
Yeah.
which they love. But it's like every day I have to remember what episode they're watching. And then-
There was actually an article today saying that they're fixing that. Like it was like a big. I guess it doesn't start the next episode too when it finishes the one.
well, you can. That's a setting. You can change that.
All right, but yeah, apparently like that's like their big
Is
upgrade.
Mickey-
that
is
comes
Clubhouse-
in.
John, are you worried that your 5-year-old's going to be worried if they get the Mickey Mouse Club canon out of order?
Is it what is
No, but
what is Clubhouse? Is that like Mouseketeers or is that different?
no, it's all animated.
What's what's Mouseketeer? That's what I want to see, like those old Mouseketeers.
They have that.
episodes.
They have the old, not the '90s one yet, but they do have like the original black and white, like
Interesting.
Annette Punicello and whatnot.
I feel like I was
Uh-huh.
probably watching the '90s one as a kid, but I'm not sure.
I would think so. If it
Yeah.
was not in black and white.
But no, but what I was telling you this though, Joe. Like I used to watch Disney a lot during the daytime as a kid, and I
Yeah.
remember them showing all this like black and white crap.
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. I used to watch the old black and
Like
white too.
especially in the morning when it was just off hours or whatever.
They have
Admit it,
s-
Eric, you're looking for Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake.
Oh, were they on there?
They were on.
Yeah.
Young
Yeah,
J-
Ryan
young,
Gosling.
young JT.
uh,
See, I think I am talking about the old version because I don't remember any of that.
Yeah, they have the old one right now. I assume at some point they'll put the 90s one up there, but I mean, there's so much awesome, like old stuff that I used to watch as a
Yeah.
kid that I didn't even remember existed. Like The Cat from Outer Space, John. Like,
Oh, I've not seen that.
Dude,
Yeah.
a movie we've been talking about for years on here, Bed Knobs and Broomsticks.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
In
it's
HD.
good.
That I almost watched that with my kids this weekend. And
If you ever wanted to watch a
kids
kids movie about a witch fighting off the Nazi invasion of England in World War
Yeah.
II, I have a movie for you.
we can all agree that Disney Plus is essentially just the exact opposite of Shudder. I think,
Mm.
like it literally, like you can't imagine two streaming services more diametrically opposed to each other.
Really,
I
because
don't-
they're
is there-
both kind of broken in a similar way.
that may also be true. I more meant that like there's so little horror and even really adult. There's not that much like quote unquote adult content on Disney Plus. Maybe none. Like the Jeff Goldblum show.
I mean,
I would disagree. Like, there's a ton of like National Geographic and
Oh,
kind of
that's
like
true.
if you go through those stuff, like there's
Did
a
I see
lot
History
of, like,
Channel on
Nat
there
Geo,
too?
I've not been into.
Or no, it was just National Geographic. I don't know. I would consider some of the Marvel stuff like, yeah, they're making it's a
Yeah.
kid stuff, but they're
Yeah.
making that for the people with money because they want their money.
It's for like teens.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
listen,
I would
I've seen
call it-
all the
sure.
MCU films. Like, I'm not above it. I'm
John,
just
let's
saying.
call it transitional entertainment, okay?
All right. I'm
You
just
know?
saying, like Shudder, I would struggle to find anything I could show my children,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
I feel like
well-
I could just give them free reign on Disney.
John,
Plus.
isn't
Like,
it neat
have
how we're
at it.
all different?
The what?
Isn't it neat how we're all different?
Yeah, it is nice.
Would
I
you
like that.
let your
you
kids
know,
watch Star Wars, John? Are you gonna let them?
Showed James the episode 4 this week. It was
Oh,
great.
That's cool.
Yeah, we had a really nice time.
You
I
can just,
showed
you can just call it a New
that
Hope.
to
John.
Mia, and a week later we got a call from the principal because she threatened to shoot a kid with a blaster.
Eek.
So you got that to look forward to, buddy.
Oh my
Lord.
God, that's
Yeah, we'll see.
amazing.
I think we'll be all right. But
What
I
was
don't
your?
mean to laugh
What
at
did
that,
you,
but that-
Joe?
at this
For
day
real,
and age, but yeah.
Joe. What was your response?
Luckily, Leslie's the one that got the
Oh,
call.
I was. I wondered if you were like, did he deserve it?
Like, well, yeah, I guess we're not watching any more Star Wars for a while.
Good times. All right, Joe.
Yeah, buddy.
It is time. Let us know what we are drinking tonight.
Beer guts.
Oh yeah, The Dead Don't Die. It's a movie based on a Sturgill Simpson song, from what I gathered from this movie.
Oh, I didn't catch that
Uh,
part.
I know you guys are a fan. I got a real bone to pick with you about Sturgill Simpson when we get into the movie. But first, we're talking about The Dead Don't Die, a fun little film about zombies. And because of that, I picked a beer from the good folks down at North by Northwest Brewing Company. That's in Austin, if you haven't guessed by the name. And this beer is their Zombie Dragon. Yeah.
the worst kind of dragon.
Yeah, I mean, the zombie dragons don't die, I guess is the follow-up. So this beer actually, I want to say, I forget how many years ago, but it was originally brewed for South by Southwest, big thing that goes on down there in Austin, but it became so popular that now the brewery does it year-round, and it's one of their more populars. It's an IPA, as, the hipsters heading down to Austin would enjoy. They use a couple different hops in there. It actually gets all the way up to 7.4% alcohol, so it's a hefty one. Very floral. Obviously you get a lot of bitterness, but it's a tasty one. I don't, being higher in alcohol, it doesn't really have an alcohol-y flavor. I've only had this one a couple times when traveling for work, but I am a big fan. Very good, and I don't think I've had any of their other beers, but I definitely look forward to it. No shit, I forgot to look up their website, but I don't know. I gotta imagine it's like
Nobody cares.
You
Yeah, it's
can you can Google it.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? It's nxnwbrew.com. And yeah, check it out. Their stuff seems to be pretty good.
Beautiful. Thank
Thanks,
you.
man.
That is a beer recommendation. You get that every week here from Mr. Joe. It is time. Let's take a quick break and discuss The Dead Don't Die.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. Up the prime time. Main feature.
And we're back. John Schnars.
Yeah, Eric.
Words. I wanted to point out for the audience that I usually make fun of how you're wearing like an undershirt, but that is like a crisp, like white undershirt. That is clean.
Yeah, it's probably only been worn a couple times. I don't know.
Isn't
I got a new shipment of white shirts not that long ago.
What are you, Kramer? You
I
got
don't know,
a shirt
you
guy?
gotta replace them sometimes. They get a little,
It's true.
all
You get pit
worn in.
stains? You don't get pit stains, John?
Nah, I don't get the pit stains.
That's for the working man, not
Yeah,
for
he
I
weighs
us.
like he weighs
know,
like a
it's-
buck 05.
Yeah.
It is funny. 'cause
Have you ever
felt?
have you ever felt how soft John's hands are?
I'll be honest. I have not bought or owned a white T-shirt in about 12 years, just because
Yeah.
I got like
do you-
maybe 2 or 3 wears.
Do you wear undershirts?
No. I
Oh
I
wow.
work in like advertising. I wear T-shirts every day. Like it's
Oh,
not.
that's
not-
God. I'm so
Ain't
jealous.
sweat neither.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I'm telling you, John, fresh undershirt. It's a good feeling.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
Anyway,
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but Eric did turn me on to I forget what the name of this company is, but like
It's just-
I'm on like a steady delivery rotation now with these shirts.
yeah,
They're
it's
only
just
like
it's just Gildan. So a lot of places like you buy a shirt with a screen print on it, and you look at the tag, it's most likely Gildan.
Yeah.
And like last year, I discovered they make soft style shirts that are what I like. It's like the worn out cotton kind of. It's like really soft, and I've just been buying the black T-shirts on Amazon for like $4.95 a pop or something.
Yeah.
I turned Joe onto it.
Yeah, I've got like 4 or 5.
It's
in
wonderful.
the last a month. Just,
Oh no, I'm
guys-
determined to replace every graphic tee. Like I just want a drawer full of just these plain black T-shirts.
You realize Gildan has not sent us any money. I just want to like throw that out there.
They make
Like,
a hell of a
you know,
shirt, John. Is all I'm saying.
start dropping brand names.
Anyway, John, I
I'm
just
like,
assume if you went to
come on.
Duke that you get a new clean undershirt every day and then just throw it out. Like you don't even donate them, you just throw it out. I just assume.
I don't know. I like them after maybe 2 wear. Like you need a couple washes to really kind of get the nice softness in there.
Anyway,
So-
John, no idea where this is going, but please bring us the word of the day.
Eric, today's word, proscenium. That's Proscenium. The proscenium, the part of a theater stage in front of the curtain, also could be the stage of an ancient theater. The proscenium is the part. It's basically what separates the sort of, well, what we might call the fourth wall, or it is, I should say, the fourth wall. It's what sort of separates the action on the stage from the audience. Comes to us from the Greek pro and skene. I don't know, skene. Pro meaning before, and skene meaning
Wow.
stage.
nailed it, Jim.
Fancy.
Proscenium.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Suitably artsy for this movie.
There you go.
And
My
Adam
man.
isn't. Adam wasn't
Sharpened,
even.
it's
Adam
always
wasn't even
been
here to
known as the
give you a word.
orchestra pit.
Yeah. All right, John.
Yes.
Who is this Jarmusch character? What do you know about this guy? And,
I
and
mean,
what's this
sure,
movie about?
I really feel like we should turn it over to Joe because I
Oh.
think he probably knows a little bit more about the old Jarmusch. I don't know, Joe. Where should we? He's
Okay.
kind of like a New York City arts guy.
Yeah,
that
I mean, I remember I had seen a couple of his things growing up and didn't realize like it was like a thing, but he was very big in sort of the like punk and like Andy Warhol. Someone who knows stuff is probably like fucking punching their radio or wherever they're listening to this point.
Why am I punching a radio right now?
But he's very big on like that independent cinema. Like I want to say he was like one of the first, like back in the 80s. And he did Down by Law, I think was like his first really like sort of
That was like
well-known-
that was definitely the one that kind of hit. I think Stranger
Yeah.
Than Paradise too is
Yeah,
well
yeah. And I remember he did Ghost Dog, The Way of the Samurai, which I
Yes.
remember got like a ton of
Famous
like,
'90s movie. I
I didn't know
swear.
that was him.
Famous '90s movie. I swear no one's ever seen, but their trailer was on for every VHS you ever rented in the '90s.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
So it was kind of like this: just set up a camera and let people talk, which we can kind of get into in this movie. It throws some people off. I mean, the first one that I really kind of got into was Coffee and Cigarettes, which was back in like 2003, which literally was just like random.
That's
yeah.
really like turn on a camera and let people talk.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
yeah. And like I remember watching it and being like, I don't know what the fuck is going on here. I just remember the Wu-Tang was in it and Tom Waits, and I'm like, I want to see this. And it really it kind of it's interesting. Like I could get it's not for everybody, but I mean, we'll talk more about it this movie. Like I kind of love that monotone, just like feels like real people talking, and it's almost like uncomfortable to a point.
I gotta say,
So
Joe, you being way into this movie is one of the more shocking things that's happened to me in 2019. I'm
I
not sure how
see.
to
I don't know.
process it.
I think this is like right up my alley. Like it feels like if they're like Waiting for Guffman was made more serious and turned into like a horror movie.
Hmm.
Like
All right, let's
Interesting.
not go. Hold on, we're still talking about Jarmusch here.
John,
Yeah.
John, just tell
Yeah.
me, John, tell me what this movie's about.
Well, I was gonna say the other thing that Joe sort of was getting at, but like so Jarmusch kind of comes out of like an artistic scene where he just has like a bunch of rando people that he's like tight with. So a lot of these movies, and it's a lot of the same people in these movies, but people like Tom Waits are in every one of his movies. Iggy Pop is in at least most of the ones I've seen. I haven't seen them all, but
I literally texted you guys last night. Is that Iggy Pop?
yeah, I mean, so the other one that I would really recommend, people who are kind of interested in Jarmusch, or at least like exploring whether they would be interested in Jarmusch, Dead Man is like one of the weirder goddamn movies you'll ever see. It's a Western. It's Johnny Depp from '95, so it was kind of like, I don't know, peak Johnny Depp. It
John-
was actually probably before he was big. But,
John, he's canceled. Can't watch that.
I am.
oh, all right.
That
Okay.
one was from the description that Joe gave too. Would throw you off because that one didn't have any dialogue, did it?
No, it did. It did.
Did it?
Did you not have the sound turned
John.
up? Or
I don't know. It was a long time ago.
John, now I would
No.
like you to tell me what this movie's about, but I just
Yeah,
wanted to
so-
mention quick that we did also do Only Lovers Left Alive.
yeah,
Right?
yeah. I mean, it's funny because I feel like talking about Jarmusch is actually more preparation than talking about the plot of this movie.
Mm.
So essentially, here, The Dead Don't Die, starring, as Eric mentioned, Bill Murray, and then just like literally tons and tons of other really solid actors: Chloe Sevigny, Adam Driver, Steve Buscemi, Tilda Swinton, Tom Waits, Iggy Pop, Selena Gomez. I mean, there's just like a lot. The RZA, Danny Glover. It's so we're set. The movie takes place in a town called Centerville. Bill Murray is the chief of police. Adam Driver is sort of his second in command, and then Chloe Sevigny is kind of the third officer. Tilda Swinton is the mortician. Steve Buscemi is kind of the racist farmer.
Mhm.
And
With his Make America White Again hat.
yeah, and basically a zombie apocalypse happens. It is explained to us that it's happening because of polar fracking, which is being debated on political shows on the TVs that are sort of in the background, which I enjoyed polar fracking. I thought that was cute. But basically, zombies start coming, they start appearing, and the movie is sort of like what would happen in a small town if there was a zombie apocalypse and everyone was sort of like on some drugs of some kind that kind of kept them real level. Although I guess there's some people freaking out. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to really get
That's
into
fine, John.
plot-wise.
John,
So
John, for somebody who's synopsized 550 something movies, you're still very unsure of yourself when doing it.
it's a movie like this. I don't even think the plot matters.
Okay, let's.
There's
You're
not
fine.
much
Thank
of a
you.
plot.
Thank you, John.
It's adorable though. Your uncomfortableness is.
John, you can
Yeah.
sit. You can sit down now. All right, guys. Casey, what'd you think of this?
I ended up enjoying this quite a bit. It's definitely a weird movie. It's not for everybody. You got to be into that dry sense of humor, be able to, look for the meta-ness and whatnot of it. But overall, I got a good laugh. There's not a whole lot of zombie stuff going on here, but what they had was fun. It was more about the situation and the actors and their reactions to it that made this fun for me. But like I said, I can see where it's not for everybody, so I'm not going to hold it against you if you didn't like it.
Cece.
Good, because I hated it.
Mm.
And by hated, I mean like I fell asleep during it, and I'm pretty sure it was like multiple. It was at least 10 minutes in, and then when I
Drifting in
would
and
wake
out.
up, I'd be like, nothing's happening, so I'm going back to sleep. I was.
Why did you watch it? Like, did you go into it expecting to be like liking it, or
You saw it in
Well,
the
yeah.
theater, right?
Well, Kyle's a huge fan. I mean, Kyle likes Jarmusch movies, and he loves Sturgill Simpson, and I like Adam Driver and Tilda, and I mean, I like all the actors, so I was like, okay, this will be fine, whatever. And I don't know if it was just me, but no, it just nothing I couldn't get behind any of the jokes. I felt like everyone was talking about something that I was supposed to already know. And yeah, I don't know. I think I understand and I can appreciate the artistry of not having a plot or like having a like super meta underhanded plot, but it didn't work for me here.
What did Kyle think though? I think that's the more
No,
important.
he hated it too.
What?
What?
I mean,
Oh my
Joe,
God.
Joe,
Like,
you know,
I'm actually really surprised we didn't leave, to be honest.
Joe, you
this
know,
is it. What's co-host's name?
Joe, you know
Yeah,
this is
what?
Mumblecore, right? I mean,
I-
more or
See,
less.
that's the thing. Like, I think it predates Mumblecore, like Jim
Well,
Jarmusch.
this
Oh,
movie
the,
doesn't.
the documentary I was talking about is called Blank City. That it kind of goes over like the 70s and 80s, like filmmaking in like the Bowery and Lower East Side of New York, and he's in there. It's super interesting if you're into it.
What'd you think, Joe?
I remember John and I were actually emailing about this back when it was first announced, and I'm a fan of Jim Jarmusch's work. Admittedly, I haven't seen a ton of it, but what I have, I've really enjoyed, and I was kind of excited to see what he could do with a zombie movie. And I rented this a couple months back and watched it after Cece had kind of given her review, so I was cautiously optimistic, and I really enjoyed it on the first watching it, and having watched it again when we decided to do it for the show, I loved it. Like it definitely would have made my list of the decade if it had been on there on the ballot. But I think I don't like the tone of it. I know it seems weird because it's artsy, but like it's the humor in here is like exactly what I love. Like just that sort of monotone. Like you don't really realize that a joke just happened like that. I swing one way or another. Like it either has to be like ridiculous, like Will Ferrell, just over the top goofiness, or like someone mumbles something under your breath and like you almost miss it, and all of a sudden it dawns on you like, holy shit, like that was really funny. Like I don't know, like right from the get-go, there's a scene where the first sort of zombie starts and Adam Driver cuts its head off, and like Bill Murray's reaction is like, those are pretty good cuts there. Did you play ball or something? It's like,
But that was in the trailer too. That was like
That was
a
in the
big
trailer,
line in the
but-
trailer. Yeah.
it's I don't know, like it's so good. And then we'll kind of get into the fourth wall stuff, and I to be honest, like I'm baffled why nobody likes that as much as I do, because I thought it was not genius is ridiculous to say, but like I loved the way it was done. Like we see a lot of that. Like I think over email I joked around and like it's not like Zach Morris looking at the camera and saying like, "Oh, geez, Kelly's pissed at me." It was
I
like
mean,
it was no, it 100% is not.
it's not like
Uh,
that.
I think you should just call it genius and fucking own it. Just
Yeah,
ride
man.
that.
I don't want to say this is like the greatest movie ever made, but like it's Godfather level. But no, I was a really really big fan.
Yeah, it's interesting. I bring nothing to this in the sense that like I don't really know much about Jarmusch. The only other movie of his I've seen is Only Lovers Left Alive, which we did a show on, and I remember like enjoying but also being a little bewildered by. That was also one of my first introductions to like Tilda Swinton, who is always interesting. There's things about this movie that I like, that I enjoy. Like I actually like thinking back and hearing John kind of describe it. I think Steve Buscemi is my favorite part of the movie. He's not even a big part of it, unfortunately, but it's like he plays this just dumbass like MAGA racist farmer dude, and like
Well,
honestly,
he's just like pissed off that he keeps thinking that people are trying to like go on his property, so he's like shooting them. It's unclear that he knows that they're zombies.
right,
at
like the
beginning.
biggest, honestly, the biggest out loud laugh I did the whole movie. It's so stupid, but it turns out his dog's name is Rumsfeld, and I don't know why, but I just thought that was fun. First of
Well, he
all,
walks
and then
in and he's like, Rumsfeld.
then I like went through this whole thing and whatever. This is an aside, but like you have to be kind of old at this point to even know who that is, right? Like if you're just like a 20 something, like you weren't really like paying attention when the guy was a thing. Not a big deal. Anyway, I also like his exchange with Danny Glover is probably one of the when they're in the diner, and like that was probably one of the funniest moments in the movie too, and a good example of like kind of what Joe's talking about how it's just like it's real subsurface level, like you gotta really be paying attention, and just like, and even then it's like the joke just kind of washes over because it's so subtle. But I thought Buscemi's funny. I think it's just interesting to see Bill Murray in anything, right? Because other than like Twitter pictures, he doesn't really do a lot these days, except for like Zombieland cameos, right? So to see him in a full-on movie as a lead at this age is like kind of fascinating. I'm a fan of his. I'm a huge Adam Driver fan. Like, I think that guy is a brilliant actor, and like, he's only gonna get better from here. I just feel like everything I see him in, he's just like continually blowing me away by what he's doing. So seeing the two of them together is a lot of fun.
I could listen to him say ghouls.
Ghouls.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean he's
That's
doing
true. I did like that
He's
part.
doing a whole thing here for sure. I think Chloe Sevigny's character is pretty funny. I like how she's just her outsized reactions to everything. Like she made me laugh a couple times with just screams. Those were my compliments on this movie. What I will say is that
I was gonna say you're saying nicer things than I was expecting.
this is my thoughts. Listen, Joe got me frothy over email today. Okay, I'm trying to be diplomatic here. But like so the first act of this movie, I'm very much feeling how slow it is. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like I'm into it. Like whatever. It's pretty slow. By an hour in, when nothing had changed about the movement or the pacing of it, I started really just like, I'm having trouble staying with this thing, man. Like it is, and what it is like, you can tell what he's doing. It's like a small, laconic town, and he's trying to mimic the sort of like pace and feeling of these places. I also think like he is mocking it in a lot of ways, which is kind of an interesting like. That's the vibe I got.
100% mocking it.
Yeah,
I mean,
like I don't like, but sometimes when you do satire like this, I feel like you lace it with a little bit of, you're also admiring the things, or you're paying them. I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? Like this was just all mockery. It felt like to me, which is whatever. It is what it is. But that's how I felt. But when I say this movie's slow, it's not just a pacing thing. It is the pacing. Don't get me wrong, because every exciting things that happened is then followed by 10 minutes of just the driest ass conversation you could possibly imagine. And
Agreed.
but it's not just that. It's like the blocking is slow. It's like if you have a character moving through the like frame, they're gonna do it as slow as humanly possible.
well,
Like,
yeah.
every line delivered is like they're drinking like molasses. Like the camera moves slow. The music is like the kind of shit you turn on when you want to study and you go look for like lo-fi on YouTube, but it's
Hold
only
on,
but it's
hold on.
only
Are
the
you talking about
droning
the
part.
Sturgill Simpson song right now? Because
No,
that's where you're gonna get me
the
real upset.
orchestral score music that's
Oh,
underneath
alright,
is like it's a little drone. That's all it is. So it's just tough for me. Like I just don't think this thing is for me, because I needed, even if he wants to stay with this slow thematic thing he's doing, I need something. And like there are moments where you go, oh shit, okay, Tilda Swinton's got a friggin' samurai sword, let's do this. And then there's this great scene where she kills like 10 zombies, and then we're just back
And then
to
she's an alien. Like, what the fuck?
and then we're just back
Spoiler
to
alert.
we're just back to Murray and Driver.
There's nothing
Like
to spoil about this movie.
yeah, there really isn't, because it's
There's
not
that.
because it's
Yeah.
not about the plot though. You don't go into this movie to watch the
No.
plot. You go into this movie to just what Joe's saying, like you're there for the interactions, you're there for the nonstop deadpan jokes and like that kind of stuff. It's also very like there's a lot of characters in the movie. Like I'm not sure what the point of the teens is, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Other than to like give somebody like an extra interaction with Caleb Landry Jones, Joe's favorite actor. But by the end of this, I was very checked out. I will say
Hipsters from Cleveland.
I will say that I liked the finale when we're in the field. Like that's just some weird shit. I sort of liked the I don't know, like dark fate conversation between, I don't even know how to describe it, but like between Murray and Driver, about just how like things are going south, and they have this real I don't know, conversation about destiny that I think is kind of interesting.
It gets very philosophical. Toward the end,
Philosophical, exactly. And
yeah.
then the Tilda Swinton shit, and there's a UFO, and there's like that's kind of cool. I needed more of that. Like I was really trying, and like for about 45 minutes to an hour, I'm like, all right. Like I almost texted you guys at one point. Like I refrained, because you guys know when I get like antsy in a movie, I start texting you guys. But it's like at one point I had a feeling like, I feel like my feelings on this movie are going to be settled at the very end, because I'm just not sure where this is going. And then when it didn't really go that many places, I kind of was just like, don't. It's not for me. It's fine.
I mean,
It's not.
I totally get your gripes because I have an 8-year-old and like she needs bells and whistles to keep her entertained too. Like,
Oh man, just no,
No,
fucking
My point
no
stands.
sympathy. I love it.
I mean,
Can I go? Eric skipped right over me.
Yeah,
you
sure,
know.
dude.
As is his wont, I guess, as host.
Listen, you went to Duke, okay? You can stand to go last every once in a while,
No,
right?
that's fair. I would say I was actually pretty skeptical of this movie because Cece was so negative.
yeah, like
And
I think
then-
that's my expectations were
Well,
really
I'm
low.
glad
for
that I inadvertently hyped it up for you.
Well, no, and
That
it's
was
funny.
really that was my goal.
Look what you
But
did,
but
Cece.
I had also had the conversations with Joe where he was coming in real hot. So I had this. There was very much it was like a pull, in both directions.
I sorry, I don't mean to keep cutting you off, but like I watched this, went out and took the dogs for a walk, and was like frantically texting John, like, "Don't listen to Cece, it's great."
No, but it's funny. Like sitting here right now, I'm just thinking back on this movie and actually like chuckling to myself at so many of the jokes,
Yeah.
which I can't
I
think
don't
of another
even
comedy
remember
that I
most of
actually
them. Like, I don't understand how you because like it's barely perceptible where the jokes are. Honestly,
No, there's so many moments in this movie that really made me laugh out loud. And when I say that, there's so few comedies where when I say laugh out loud, that is not a euphemism. I mean, I was sitting by myself with my headphones in, chuckling, just like like feeling like a weirdo because
Yeah.
the room was empty and I'm laughing. Now, Eric, everything you're saying, there were moments in this movie where I was like, ah, sweet Jesus, like we got to move
let's
this
move
along.
on here. Yeah.
The teen stuff, I'm not. I'd have to watch it again to understand like what the hell are the teens even doing, because it is just sort of like other characters that have characters. I've seen other Jarmusch films. I was going through his filmography. I've probably seen more, like almost all of them, except I actually haven't seen the two earliest films. It's very much like of his work, right? Like there's no surprises if you're familiar with his movies, and so that's where like I was very forgiving of a lot of that stuff because I just, I didn't my expectations were appropriately set around sort of what it was going to be like. The fact that Caleb Landry Jones has as many lines as he does, and that Joe still liked the film,
I
I
know.
thought you really need to know.
Not even, like I actually found him kind of funny, like when they kept calling him Frodo. And like
Understand, like why were they calling him?
I think just because he was like a nerd in
He looked like a hairy hobbit.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was
They called him
yeah,
Baggins
I mean,
at one point too, which I liked.
Yeah,
I'm more shocked that we've gone as much praise as Joe's dished out on this movie over email that there was no mention of Caleb Landry Jones,
yeah.
even before the rest of us seen it.
Yeah,
I
mean,
didn't realize that was him when I first started watching, like to be honest.
he's pretty funny. I like him.
Yeah.
There was
No,
somebody-
the thing I was gonna say, I think Joe's mentioned it, but the Adam Driver and Bill Murray scenes, every scene, like
Yeah.
if you could have just a cut of this film that was just them and Tilda Swinton, it would be
Yeah,
like
I just
40
think
minutes
for me
long.
it just really ran thin after a while because it doesn't really develop. I felt like honestly
No.
like
Nah,
There
not
wasn't anything to
really.
develop.
I
though.
also
That was
very
just
much
how they
like
were.
I don't not that I really feel like risking Joe's ire here, but I very much did not enjoy the fourth wall stuff, and in fact, the repeated Sturgill Simpson thing made me want to throw my laptop out of the window because it's
Yeah.
not a joke. First of all, it's not a joke. They
No.
just keep saying,
Well,
is that a
couldn't get
Sturgill
into it.
Simpson
it's a
CD?
joke when you say the same thing 50 times, like the 50th
Yeah.
time, it's like, oh yeah, I get
guess.
it.
And it's a joke when
Yes.
like they break the fourth wall at the beginning and say like, "Oh, that's the theme."
I
Like,
know,
so
but it's
and then
not-
like they beat you over the head. I have a
not funny.
question about Sturgill Simpson because I don't know. I've avoided him just for personal reasons, but then I heard the song and I'm like, "Oh, I think I could get into this." But then I started listening to his latest album, and it's very like I don't know, like Taylor Swift made a country album. Like
Well,
his-
his,
all his-
No,
his
the
latest
late-
album
yeah.
is not the one you want to jump in
So
on.
I
You
will
wanna
say
make
he had a
better modern-
single. He had a single like a year or two ago. There was some album he made. I think it was Sturgill Simpson, right? It was all like nautical themed. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
This
I-
latest
that's the
album is
third
Sturgill
album.
there was
Simpson
a
inside
song.
of the country music world.
There was a
Interesting.
song I
Yeah.
really liked on that last one, and then I tried to listen to the whole thing and had the same reaction. I was like, it's not.
So
Mhm.
the first two albums, I mean, look, I friggin' love Sturgill Simpson. He's like one of my favorite current recording artists. The first two albums
Well,
are like, in my mind,
you are-
unimpeachable.
You are white.
Well, fair. This song, when I heard, so I meant to mention this. Like when I heard the theme song, I was like, huh, like because it plays over the opening credits or something, and I'm like, is that Sturgill Simpson? Like, I almost like pulled up my phone to like look it up, and then his name showed up in the credits, and I was like,
Yes.
Well, he's in the
holy
movie. He's
shit.
he's a
Yeah,
zombie.
he's a zombie.
I love
yeah,
that it's just funny the idea of you like asking yourself that question and then an hour and 45 minutes later having heard his name 45 times.
Well, no, but that's to Joe's point. Like, I do think it is a joke. Like, the whole fact that they got Sturgill Simpson. This wasn't like a song that he had written and then they made a movie. He wrote the
No.
movie for this
Yeah.
song. Like,
So
so-
I listened to 2016's A Sailor's Guide to Earth and it didn't grab me. I didn't like it.
yeah, go just listen to High Mountain Top. It's or High
Yeah.
Top Mountain. It's like it's incredible.
The meta modern thing on country music.
Yeah,
is a
Matter
good
Modern Sounds. Yeah, it's really good.
I thought that was part of the joke though too, because I remember reading that Sturgill Simpson was in this as a zombie. I didn't pick him out throughout the movie, but the fact that they gave him a credit, and it largely seems because they announce his name in his song so many times throughout the movie.
I will say that I liked Carol Kane. She was pretty funny. That was probably one of the other moments in the
it was
movie
great.
that kind of popped me a little bit. I thought that the kind of commentary on like, oh, they say the things that they liked in real life. That felt like we're just retreading like Dawn of the Dead at that point, which I thought was like a little, I don't know,
Yeah, I mean that was
a little
so
done.
Yeah, I think that was intentional because that's not the commentary. All comes at the end, and it's basically delivered fourth wall breaking by Tom Waits.
No, but isn't there
Yeah.
stuff
AKA
earlier?
Kermit
Because
Bob.
earlier they hear the zombies like saying random words, and then one of them is like,
Yeah,
oh, they
I mean,
like.
Yeah. Kylo Ren is the one who points out that like, oh, they start gravitating towards the stuff that they liked when
The
they
ones
were
with the coffee did. I kind of thought was funny.
yeah. The I want to know where people landed on Larry Fessenden because
I love him.
I
Yeah.
mean, he's one of those people where like sometimes I see him and I'm like, all right.
You know what my
Larry
first
Fessenden,
thought was?
had about enough of
He's
this.
the one who should have played Jack Nicholson. And
Yeah.
yeah, he looks
Oh,
just
that
like
would
him.
have been good. Yeah.
If you could like give him a personal trainer, get him lose like 50 pounds. That dude is
I
Jack
loved,
Nicholson.
He was really leaning into his Larry Fessenden in this movie.
I love the scene where they're outside of the hotel talking about the hipsters from Cleveland, and was it Fastbender? What the hell's his name?
Fessenden.
Larry Fassbender is like, look, I know this isn't like as important, but like my cats haven't like shown up. like there's like dead people, and it's like, look, I know, but like it's like, well, they could just be hiding.
I really love the fact that the way, and we'll get into spoilers here, I guess, to some
Oh,
of it.
I mean,
So-
CC already gave away.
yeah, she gave away the big one.
I just wanted to ruin it for everyone else. Sorry.
But like the shit that they built up with the guest stars, like Selena Gomez, big credit. They're talking about her in the trailer and stuff like that. She has nothing but die.
She has
And that's
absolutely nothing to
hilarious.
do with the plot of the
She's
movie.
got a scene with Caleb Landry Jones.
Yeah, I
That's
love
pretty
that. Like
built
when
up.
she's leaving, and like they had like little sparkles around her, and I'm like,
Oh
oh,
yeah, but you would usually
But then that doesn't-
movie like this. She'd come back later.
It doesn't
and they'd
pay
sparkle
off.
some more. He'd save her, and they'd be like running around trying to save each other. But no, she just dies.
But it doesn't pay off at all. Like there's not even, you know what I mean? Like you could have paid something. Like why do that if there's not some tie-in later, right? You know what
Well,
I mean?
It's a slice of life.
Jarmusch. Like he doesn't. Yeah, he's not trying to like do a thing that.
No,
makes
I
yeah,
get
like,
it. We're
please
cool
you.
because we're
Smart,
breaking
yeah.
the rules of screenwriting. Okay, that's fine.
you know.
So edgy.
He's just showing a slice of life of this small ass little town, and they have little interactions. Like
I wanna
that. You're gonna
see-
Frodo's gonna see a cute girl and see little sparks fly, and nothing's ever gonna happen because she's never gonna go back into his creepy comic shop.
What if Rob Zombie directed a movie written by Jim Jarmusch? How rule breaking would that be?
I think the opposite would be actually more interesting.
Zombie writing it?
It's like,
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
it's like
you're right.
Three from the Dead or whatever. What's
Yeah.
the fucking movie? And then
Free from Hell.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Three
look,
from the Bronx.
I get why this stuff might not work,
I mean-
and it certainly didn't work 100% for me. But I actually would say if you're gonna watch a Jarmusch film, like I might even recommend this as one of the first. I think
Oh, it's definitely like the most accessible one that
Yeah.
I've seen.
Then I'm good. You know what it kind of reminded me of? It reminded me of not actually this example is worse, but the movie about the killing of the sacred deer or whatever. That movie made me homicidal with rage. But it's a similar like droning, like the characters are talking at each other, and it's everything's under your
Lanthos,
breath. Like
Lanthimos, what the hell's that guy's name?
Yeah,
Yorgos.
no.
Yorgos.
Yeah, 100%. Actually, when we were talking about this over email, I was like, it does remind me a lot of that because that same sort of like monotone.
Yeah.
Like,
What did you think
really
of that
have to
movie,
pay
Joe? I don't
attention,
remember.
like-
Did you like that
and
movie, Joe?
I love that movie too. Like,
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
I see.
I
Like
think it made my top list.
I was gonna bring it up, but we were already fighting, and I didn't want to bring it up because I hated that movie, and I did not hate this movie the way that I hated that movie.
Yeah, or
I
like
mean,
the lobster. Like,
The other
yeah.
thing I largely thought about too is like it's just this thing's existence is kind of wild, like super like low budget but really star-studded, and like there's no all right, like a lot of people like this, but I see no possible argument that this is like at all a mainstream movie.
Oh,
And
yeah,
this
it's
thing
not a
went-
commercial film.
This thing got a fairly wide release though. You know what I mean? I feel like on the
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
of
It
Bill
was the
Murray,
first movie
Adam
of this
Driver,
that's ever
like-
gotten a wide release.
it's really
Yeah,
Th-
studios
really?
don't give Jarmusch movie to make movies
So,
because it's going to be a commercial success.
I mean,
They-
John, maybe during the break or something we could look up. I'm just kind of fascinated to see review score / like box office performance.
Yeah,
I'm just
I
wondering.
mean, I was looking at it earlier. On Metacritic, it's like a 54. It's like really right
That's
down the
exactly
middle.
what I would expect it to be, like just split.
And it made 6 million in the U.S., 15 million global.
I mean, it feels like a thing you either love or are just bewildered by.
Well, this was like a finalist for Palme d'Or, Cannes. Like he's that kind of director, right? Like
Yeah.
it's an
Yeah.
art house movie. Like it's, I do, as Joe said, like it's definitely, this is the funny. It's the most sort of like obviously funny. The other films, I mean, Coffee and Cigarettes has like there's like funny moments, but it's like
Yeah,
it's way drier in a lot of ways. I don't know.
There's
I'm
a
not
lot of
gonna
just, like,
lie, I was
sitting at a table.
I was bummed that Tilda Swinton didn't play more than one character, unless she did, and it was just so good I couldn't even tell, which is always a possibility.
So in my mind, the Tilda Swinton character, it might be, it's like the most fun part of the movie.
yeah, I just
So
wanted
this-
I wanted
yeah.
more of her.
The scene where she's painting the people's faces and they look like
Clowns.
essentially like divine. I don't know what
Yeah.
it's appropriate to say, and like, but like
Well, it was the cover of like whatever magazine they had like brought in. Like it looks like almost like a Ziggy Stardust. Like
yeah, but
Yeah.
like more clownish.
yeah,
So, yeah. But she's decorating these people's faces. Their eyes keep popping open. Then they sit up, and she just straight pulls out a samurai sword and cuts their heads off. I mean, I mean,
Yeah,
listen,
she
no
didn't
one else
flinch
is
or
making that
nothing.
scene other than
she's
Jarmusch.
Scottish for some reason. Like she has
Yeah.
a Scottish accent.
Makes no sense.
Yeah.
Well, that was why, like, when we get to the part that Cece spoiled for everybody earlier,
Yeah.
when the UFO shows up and Tilda Swinton gets on, because with everybody else we've met in this movie, and you meet her, so when she eventually takes off in a UFO, all you could think of is, well, of course she's going to. What else is going to happen
Yeah.
with her?
Yeah.
Like there was certain points where I'm like, does she know she's in a movie, or is this like legit? Just
I don't
like,
think she ever
she-
does.
She happened to wander on the set, and like this is just her in real life.
Like this is like this spaceship is just her normal ride home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they just happened to be filming, and she wandered on and went home.
I've been like, I mean, I've only seen her in movies for the show, and everything I've seen her in, I've been like really blown away by her. But like lately, I'm just always thinking about anytime her name comes up, I'm just thinking about Suspiria.
Mm.
She is
Yeah.
mind blowing in that movie. Like,
Let's see, what's that one we watched with the train?
Snowpiercer.
Yeah.
yeah,
You
she's
walk
pretty good
around
in
with a
that.
shoe on your head.
Yeah. No, she's.
What'd you
she's
guys
something.
think? What'd you guys think of the reason he came up with for the zombie apocalypse here? Just as far as the story goes.
Oh, the fracking?
Yeah.
Well, the fracking and the changing the rotation of the Earth.
See, I really loved like what I wish they would have leaned into more. It's kind of cool how I loved the idea that it was screwing with night and day, because that gives like this creepy vibe. Like I kind of enjoyed these
Yeah.
conversations in the beginning, not 10 hours
Yeah.
later, but in the
Yeah.
beginning, I liked Bill Murray being like, boy, it's 8 o'clock. It really shouldn't be dark by now. And then people are talking
Well,
about like it's
yeah.
too late to
Oh.
have coffee, and they're like, but the sun's out. You know, it's like,
Spot on impersonation.
Thank you.
It's like he's here.
thank you.
I love Aaron, I also love that because in my mind it was just like a way for Jarmusch to be like, I don't give a fuck
Yeah.
what the like light is doing outside.
Yeah,
We're
and
just gonna do this
unfortunately, like
movie outside."
they don't necessarily keep up with the theme of things going haywire as much as I would have liked. Like but I enjoyed kind of the hilarious, like silly news reports with Rosie Perez of all people.
I mean, Posey Juarez.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like her attempts at doing like a news anchor voice were pretty funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I that part I kind of liked.
I did want your commentary on the local news and sort of how it was handled, but it seems like you're
Well,
a
I
fan,
thought
so-
it was appropriately shitty and bad look. You know what I mean? Like for this movie, it's like what I would hope for, I guess. It's not trying to be serious, obviously. You know what I mean? And nothing can ever be worse than Hell House LLC 2, which has the worst TV show depiction that has ever been put to film.
Well, the only question that remains is what Bush cabinet member Eric would name his dog after, I guess.
Oh man, boy, maybe Condi.
Yeah, I was
Like
gonna
a
say
good
that's
comedy.
it's one of the only ones you can go with, right?
These days, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have your
So the
choice of
neighbors
like
won't look at you weird.
you have your choice of 10 different war criminals, John. So you pick.
I don't know. I'd have to look up who was running HUD back then. I feel like they
Yeah,
weren't
right.
really
There's
involved.
somebody running one of those departments that couldn't get into too much trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, probably didn't deal with Iraq at all. So.
Exactly. How about
Good
Colin?
times.
How about Colin? Hey,
So what
Colin,
about
come
the
here.
fourth wall breaking? I know some
Oh,
of us,
yeah.
that was a pretty hard line to split. For me, I enjoyed it because, like Colleen pointed out to me, at the end of the movie, once they start breaking the fourth wall, it seems pretty clear, or at least it seems pretty obvious that these three main characters, Bill Murray, Kylo Ren, and Chloe Sevigny, they're essentially making fun of us, the fans, right? Because
Really?
each one of them kind of an archetype that's like one of the fans. Because you got Kylo Ren, who's the hardcore horror nerd who's already read the script, knows everything that's going to happen. Bill Murray is the guy who he's seen some zombie movies before. He's got an idea what's going on. And Chloe Sevigny's the one that got pulled along with, no interest whatsoever, and got forced to go see this movie with their friends, and is just freaking the fuck out the entire time.
You see,
No, I
I
think-
saw it more as like they're legitimately the actors. Like that was
Yeah.
Bill
Right.
Murray being like, "What?" Like, because that. So to my point of what I was talking about before, like the thing I liked about it, where it wasn't just like looking at the camera but still being in character. Like they broke it, but then like Murray's like, for all the stuff that I've done for Jim, like he doesn't give me the full fucking script. Like that's what I loved about it. Which
Yeah.
I
See,
totally
that
get.
stuff
You kind of
feels-
have to know the history.
Yeah,
and, like,
it feels very self-indulgent to me in a way.
It's
like,
alienating. I get that. I 100% get that. Like,
Yeah.
like I don't give a
It-
fuck if you guys are friends and like smoke weed together. Like I don't need to. It's like
yeah.
I don't know. I
But
didn't.
I also think it's
it.
interesting
Yeah,
that,
you think
like,
it's cool. Leave it
I,
alone.
I think it's funny that he decides to do that in the first movie he has that actually gets into theaters and gets like a wide release. Like he decides to go like super insider joke on like an audience that may not have any idea.
I mean, it sounds to me like if you're into this dude's shtick, you probably will like this. I would
Yeah,
say.
100%. That's at the heart of it. I completely agree.
Yeah, and whatever the reading is, I mean, because I think Casey, like your point on sort of them as archetypes is totally viable. Like it maps
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
But like, however it plays, like it's sort of like very down the middle for Jarmusch. Like, and if you know sort of like what you're gonna get into, I don't think you'll be surprised. It didn't do a ton for me. I actually though would say I loved Tom Waits and this whole Hermit Bob character who's
Yeah.
essentially the chorus of the film. Like he's the Greek chorus, and kind of it gets a little heavy handed at the end, but it was fine. And I just liked how ridiculous he was and the way that he's introduced. I mean, it's really the first scene in the film was pretty funny for me. So
All right, guys. Would you recommend this movie, John?
Yeah.
Cece?
Yes.
No. No. I'm sorry. My mic cut out. No.
I was just goofing. It's so good.
Casey?
I love that.
Yes, go see it.
Joe?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know what to say here because I feel like if you were into this stuff, you might like it, but if you're an Eric, probably not. So-
I'm more upset about this whole Kyle thing. Like I feel
I'm
like
surprised.
this
Yeah.
is the lipstick on the collar with me and him. I think this might be it. Like we're done.
Oh, no.
What's happening?
Oh no.
Whatever will
Right
we
now.
do?
What's his co-host's name again on Toon Dig?
Really?
Yeah, and what's his number? Can you send that to me? Like, I just-
Just read it on air. Okay, guys. That's going to do it for The Dead Don't Die. Let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
Silent Night, Deadly Night, the most talked about film of the decade. The movie that shocked America, outraged Hollywood, and frightened the government. The movie they tried to ban. You've read about it. You've heard about it. Now you can see it in all its terrifying horror. Silent Night, Deadly Night. Rated R, under 17, not admitted without parent.
This is Jason Mewes, and you're listening to BloodyGoodHorror.com. Yes.
Send feedback to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or on Twitter using hashtag AskBGH. Join Patreon to get back episodes and much more. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
And we're back. info@bloodygoodhorror.com. If you want to send emails, that's what the old people do. We're also on Twitter @BGHorror, where we use the hashtag AskBGH. Also, quick plug, things we would love you to do as 2019 comes to a close. Leave us iTunes reviews. Helps us get out to more people. And if you have a Spotify account, please search Bloody Good Horror. Follow us on there. That also helps us get out to more people. So we would greatly appreciate it. We appreciate you. Thank you. John.
Yes, Eric.
Great news.
Oh, yeah?
We've finally received another missive from Professor Plumpkin of Duke University.
Good.
Wow.
I was worried that he was sick and, like, something had happened. It's really rough.
I'm going to make you wait for that, though.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I just remembered. I don't like
till next
to.
episode,
I don't
or
want to
just-
make other emailers follow Professor Plumpkin. It's like it's a tough task.
Pure
so,
gold.
yeah.
Plumpkin gold.
First up, Caitlin D. Not to be confused with Caitlin from Richmond. Different Caitlin. She says, finally watched Midsummer twice in a row. It's so good, and wanted to know if y'all noticed.
In one sitting, or do you think she got up and
Oh, I don't
went to
know.
the bathroom?
You think she watched it and then just hit rewind
That's
and
real.
watched it in reverse?
I mean, if she's in 1994, maybe. This is a really interesting little Easter egg in this movie. Wanted to see if you all noticed that when Josh, the friend doing his thesis, lays down to sleep before he goes to the forbidden shed, he lays down in black Nikes with the iconic check mark and purple sheet covering him right before his ankles.
Ooh.
Super classic nod to the People's Temple cult that was seen as relatively harmless until Bo and Peep, the leaders, convinced all the young members to commit a sacrificial suicide where they were found in bed wearing the same outfit with the same sheets. I thought this was the coolest part of the movie and wondered if anyone saw any other cult nods to real stories. I'm sure they're in there. That's really
interesting. Yeah,
fascinating.
I didn't catch that. That is fascinating.
I learned from my not my brother-in-law, but my brother's brother-in-law, who's like a huge sneakerhead. He's like one of these dudes who pre-orders, sneakers and stuff. There's a whole like underground collecting market for that specific kind of Nike because they only made them like 1 year and then they just stopped making them because of the whole thing. So people are like way into that shoe, which is pretty dope. It's a cool shoe. All right, guys. Sean. Sean gets into a whole thing about Halloween. Feels old at this point, so I'm going to skip it.
Wait, the Halloween, the holiday, or the
holiday?
movie?
The holiday. But here's where he gets to something I want to talk about. He says, shifting topics. What possesses a person to sit so close to strangers in a theater when there are other options available? Luckily, my local theater has assigned seating, which tends to maximize awkward encounters. However, my local IMAX does not. I recently took my son to see Terminator Dark Fate in IMAX around noon on a Sunday. We get there a few minutes before the previews start, and we're the only ones there. Right before the movie starts, a middle-aged gentleman walks in and sits exactly 2 seats away from me when the entire IMAX theater is empty except for us. Then he proceeds to share his hot takes about the previews as they're playing with me and my son. Is it weird or cruel that I'm incapable of understanding why a person would act this way? So for context, He is in Texas, but he mentions I'm from the Northeast, which immediately I can relate to and I understand where he's going with this. His hot takes weren't offensive or anything, but WTF. Sean from Texas, formerly Sean from South Korea, and Sean from Colorado. Sean gets around. I like it.
Stop moving, Sean. That's too much.
I've not been to the South a lot, but the few times that I've been there, I have been very offended by the aggressive fake friendliness that they put on down there.
Oh.
Is this a shot across Cece's bow, or what's
No,
going on right
Listen,
now?
I'm talking about, like, I don't think Atlanta seems like a place where, people keep
Seems like you're
themselves.
backtracking.
Real
Yeah.
cutthroat.
But, like,
Real hot, apparently.
but listen, well, there's a different cultural thing in some areas of the South, though, where, like, if you're alone in a restaurant, like, somebody will sit with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And-
Yeah.
I mean,
What?
people will talk to you more often if you're sitting by yourself, but I mean, I don't know that they would immediately the South is all about like Southern hospitality,
Right.
but like I don't want people sitting next to me in a
No.
theater, and I definitely have not had that happen.
Yeah.
So
The thing I'll
thankful
say about the IMAX theaters, people are like, and I will put myself in this camp, although I would not go sit next to like the only other two people in the theater. There's like certain good seats in the IMAX theater.
Well, you
know,
want the
wanna
angle,
be-
but if it's an empty theater, you can just go up or down a row.
Yeah, just go one seat. I
Yeah.
totally agree, or one row. No, I mean, I would hesitate to say like sometimes there's just weirdos. I mean, like if you're with your
Yeah.
like if I was with my kid and like another adult man just started talking to us, I don't know. I'd kind of be like, listen, this is
I mean, I feel weird
I don't know.
enough. I feel weird. Like, I don't feel weird, but if I'm like with my assigned seat sitting next to a family or something, I already feel like maybe they think
I'm
this is
imposing.
weird. Yeah, exactly. So like, I'm not talking to the person. It's like being on an airplane. Don't talk
That's
to me.
funny because I must be the weirdo because Colleen and I went to see Zombieland Double Tap, and it was assigned seating, so they weren't sitting like right next to me. But there's an old guy and his wife and like a friend of theirs with them sitting about 2 seats down from me, and the old guy we're basically telling jokes and talking about trailers all throughout the
Okay,
previews.
but if you two are engaging on the same level, that's one thing. But some people don't. Some people can't
Yeah.
read. Some people can't read that they're talking to you and you're uncomfortable.
Yes, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
just to be clear, I actually like talking to strangers. Like it's a thing, and like people in New York, like you will engage with like the people on the elevator. Like it's not like we're like rude to each other. It's I don't know, but
It's
there
not
are
what
times.
Hollywood says.
Well, you know,
I think you're
Wow.
talking to out of towners, John.
I might want to refer this person to, if he's a patron, to our Friday the 13th remake episode in which I had a similar experience of someone
Yeah.
sitting next to me and talking and then putting his feet next. He kept moving around during the movie. I kept checking to see where he was. At one point, he was directly behind me with his feet right next to the chair next to me. And then
Ugh.
20 minutes later, I looked again and he was gone. He left the movie like 40 minutes in, which
I have a
good for him.
I have a similar problem on the train where I take the same train every day, and there's this gentleman who's like, he's not, like morbidly obese or anything, but he's like taller and he's got some girth. And for some reason, he keeps sitting next to me, like to the point where I'm like, asshole, like we're both big. Like, why the fuck are you near me? And you also kind of smell like rotten milk. And
Ew.
yeah, Cece, yeah. And like, because I stare at his phone and I see him playing like Pokemon Go, and I'm like, do you think like maybe we're like nerds together or something, and like we're gonna become friends? Because I'll tell you right now, fuckface, we're not.
Joe, you do.
Like,
Joe,
he definitely thinks that. Just to be
I,
clear.
Joe.
I think so. Like to the point where I see him and then I'll like move train cars and like, no, I'm not getting into this again.
Joe,
I'm
Yeah.
getting into this.
Joe, you,
I already have a boyfriend. Did you tell him that?
No, yeah. Well, I don't know. This whole that
Now
don't-
that he might be available again. It's weird.
you do play Pokemon Go though, for the record.
no, I haven't in months
Oh.
actually.
In
You finally
months.
gave up.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you should ever sit next to anyone ever, like
Yeah.
unless you're
Yeah.
like actually forced to.
Jo-
Like, it's
so
just-
to be clear, Joe's taking out the position that every single place with a seat on Earth should have a buffer. So like every place you're planning out seats, it should just be seat and then spike and then seat and
Well,
then spike.
I would say
No, if there's other options, I agree with you.
when I took New Jersey
No.
Transit bus every day, my goal would be every
Aren't
like
those things
row should have
packed?
one person in it, and then you start filling in those other roles as people get on.
Aren't
like,
those things packed though? Like there's no chance you're not sitting next to somebody.
Yeah, exactly. But like you minimize sitting next to someone for, like as short as possible.
As long
like,
as possible. Yeah, I got
Yeah. So like say there's 30 rows, like 30 people sit in those rows, and then the next 30 get on and start sitting next to people. But like until there's no other place to sit,
Let's
you should
have
not
this.
be
Let's have
interacting
this
with people.
time to ourselves.
Yeah,
I un-
exactly.
I understand.
Just people
Anyway.
are just disgusting.
What's our friend Plumpkin have to say? That's
Yeah.
What's the matter, John? You nervous?
no.
You worried he's been
I'm gonna
Googling around the
move on
Chronicle
before Joe has
archives?
a heart attack over there.
John, are you worried? Are you worried he's been searching through the Chronicle archives? Because spoiler alert, he has.
God bless him.
So for those who didn't hear the first one, this is of course John's very real college professor named Professor Plumpkin, who wrote us in to let us know about College John. We're gonna learn a little more about College John tonight. I have a feeling. That's a tease.
A
John.
promise.
Yeah.
A tease. Very nice.
Jonathan.
Mm-hmm.
It's always weird to read that.
Nah, it's my mom calls me that.
You know what?
so-
It's weird because you don't have an H in your name, and so seeing Jonathan without an H is very weird. Some weird Scandinavian bullshit.
Pretty sure it's like
John.
the normal way, but all right.
Oh, the normal way.
Okay. Jonathan,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to send you a note of encouragement following our recent time together. You did visit Duke recently, isn't that right?
I did.
you
Yeah,
guys-
I can't remember if I talked about it in the show or if he's just stalking my email.
You guys met
or
up?
something.
You guys met up? Great.
He's already in your DMs, John.
Yeah.
As we discussed, I am roused by the plans you are making for your contributions in your career and public positions of influence. When you were originally tapped for invitation into the TS,
I'm not
Do you know what that is, John?
100% sure what that is.
I was confident that you would be a key leader in promoting the values our society holds dear. I'm pretty sure it's some kind of like Duke secret society kind of thing. Which I
Yeah.
get you're pretending you don't know what it is. That's fine.
Yeah, all right. Yes. Pretending.
After all, when the fraternity was founded, I love this because he's clearly just looking up facts. It's great. After all, when the fraternity was founded by a previous editor from the Chronicle, the goal was to secure and disseminate the leadership needed to best serve our fellow community members who might not be as willing or capable of implementing a course of action that rewards intellectual superiority. It came as no surprise, then, that another young and talented editor would so consummately personify those standards. I think he's talking about you, John. I know the road ahead
I
will be
wasn't sure,
I-
but
I
okay.
know-
TBD.
I know the road ahead will be fraught with difficulty and intransigence. We both know that you are well suited to rise to the occasion. Your coterie is here in full support and will offer any sapience we can. As you prepare for the evolution in your work, I hope you. This is it, John. Stand by.
Yeah.
As you prepare for the this evolution in your work, I hope you will reflect on the sentiment of your article titled "A Last Will and Testament."
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
God.
Yeah.
Did you read this,
Does
Joe?
it-
I sent this to Joe again.
No, well, this is my farewell column.
Oh no,
And,
I read it. Oh no, I know. Therefore, in the same manner wherein was necessary for quote unquote college John to give way to quote unquote career John, so too is the need for career John to pass in order to herald the parturition of consul John. I have no. I'll say the difference between the last email and this one is I have no fucking idea what anything in this email means.
It almost
It's a
feels
little
like
more.
But I wanna get to your
up
article,
there-
'cause it's
out
funny.
there.
As the goading bard once wrote on the topic of man's walk through life, and then the justice in fair round belly with good cape and lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances, and so he plays his part. Come, worthy consul, let your wisdom wash away the feculence of the mediocre. Cordially, Professor Plumpkin.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Oh
looked
my
up. I looked up this article of yours, John.
Mm-hmm.
Are you okay if I read a little bit?
I mean, sure, it's on the internet. I'm pretty sure. It's not hidden.
So before you get into that, I'm just curious. It's Facebook comments. If I comment on this, is it going to show up on my Facebook feed for other people to see?
Probably.
Asking for a friend.
Yeah.
Probs.
All right.
It's best to assume that yes, it will. So
Yeah.
I gotta say, of everything in this email, my favorite word was definitely feculence, which I'm
Hmm.
gonna now add into my vocabulary.
Completely unrelated. Cece, can I have your Facebook login?
no.
Suddenly, it's gonna be commented on by Joe Jar News. John, this is this little excerpt from Last Will and Testament, your article from the Chronicle. Not to put too morbid a spin on things, but the more I think about it, the more I get the feeling that come the 15th, I'm going to be losing a treasured friend. Someone who has stood beside me through thick and thin. His name is College John.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love this. This whole article is written in the third person, and it's incredible. Over the past 4 years, I've spent
I wrote it. I know.
Over the past 4 years, I've spent a lot of time with College John. This is where it gets really good. Lying on the couch, watching 3. I love this is your idea of binge watching. Watching 3 straight episodes of Law and Order.
Whoa!
Making 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and calling it dinner. College John.
Wild man.
College John fucks.
Wait.
I've had
Stand
it
by.
now back to 1. Just
Stand
for
by.
health reasons.
College John likes to bong beers and order pizza at 1:55 a.m. College John also plays 7 straight hours of Madden 2005 without batting an eye. All in all, he's a pretty cool dude, and I'm gonna be sad when he passes away.
Pretty cool, dude.
Pretty cool. College John has jerkers cramps.
College John keeps an industrial-sized tub of Jergens next to the bed.
College John grazed a boob once.
I think they made me cut that.
John.
That was it. That was picked up on edit.
John, I just want you to know, I find your college writing incredibly adorable, and I love it.
Hey,
Okay, but I'm just going to skip ahead now to the final paragraph because it has my
Sure.
other favorite line in this piece. So this is where John, he's bringing it all home. Okay, this is his thesis. College John would like to thank those who have made his Duke experience all that it could have been, those whom he has loved, and those that have stood by him through it all. All College John asks is that you give Career John a chance. College John realizes this new John might not be nearly as fun, exciting, or even good-looking. But come the 15th, he'll be the only John left. So we'll all have to do our best to get along.
3 episodes of Law and Order in a row, John. It's going to be hard to top that fun.
Is it Can I make my career just reciting John's Chronicle article? Like, is that a thing? Could I get paid for that?
amazing.
Because
Yeah.
Listen,
it's-
hats off to you if you could.
it's my
you know.
muse, if I'm being honest.
So
John-
how hard did you and the librarian rage on the last night, John?
The thing I wish I had done here is go to this article and do a search to find out how many times you use the word John in it, because it's really incredible.
Yeah, it's a lot. Listen, you have to write one of those as a senior when you're leaving the paper, and you really struggle sometimes to find something interesting to say.
You didn't seem to struggle at all.
It
You
doesn't
knew
seem like you
yeah.
did, John.
this
It seems
metaphor
like
is airtight. I would like to thank your old Professor Plumpkin for writing in. Maybe lay off the weed next time before we write in, so I understand what you're trying to say. But I like feculence. There's my feedback. info@bloodygoodhorror.com for all of your College John needs. College John Fox. That was pretty good.
Get over The school paper's bad boy is leaving.
John, there's a vein in your forehead that looks like it's about to explode, and I love it.
Well, I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
I'm having a good time. I haven't read any of these things in 15 years.
Yeah,
so
they're great.
it's an interesting ride for me.
Yeah.
I'll tell you up front.
Good times. Also, I'm not even sure that was the same person that wrote in the first. I mean, it was Professor Plumpkin, but I'm just saying, like, there could be a copycat.
Was it a different email address?
Oh, that's a great question. I didn't even look.
Email. How does it work?
Anyways, we're also on Twitter, John.
The emails are coming from inside the house. All right.
I
It's
love
Laura. I didn't want to tell you.
Do you still have your copy of Madden 2005? I'm just curious.
I traded that in, I think.
Yeah.
I
This
think
was
that's what
indeed.
No, it's a
This
bummer.
was indeed from profplumpkin@gmail.com/duke.edu.
There you go.
Prof Plumpkin is so good. Sorry. Yeah, boy, Plumpkin. I'd like to know what Professor Plumpkin taught, if I'm being honest. I'd like to know a little bit more about.
Yeah, some backstory.
I
on
gotta say
Plumpkin.
too, this is on me. I assumed it was a man. Professor Plumpkin could be a woman.
It totally could.
Yeah.
Nothing in there.
Yeah.
Hashtag feminism.
It didn't let us. He or she didn't let us know. So
There you go. Which pronouns they would prefer?
Yeah. let us know. Feculence. John, you gonna give us Twitter, or are you just gonna make me keep repeating?
Wait,
things
am I
you
doing
said?
Twitter? I thought Joe's doing
Who?
Twitter.
Oh, Joe. Sorry, Joe. Do Twitter.
Whatever. I got the tweets.
Twitter me times.
Let me know if we did this one last week, but I assume not. At BG Horror is the Twitter handle. We use the hashtag AskBGH every week if you want to send in some fun questions or just need life advice. First up from @SlenderestGent. He says, "Hey guys, love Dr. Sleep and the movie. I just want to mention that Halloran
Halloran.
Halloran character makes an offhand remark to Donnie about Ka being a wheel. What the fuck is going on here?"
No, it's a thing. CC knows what it is.
A subtle reference to the Dark Tower. This just solidifies how loving Flanagan is to King and the genres as a whole.
Yeah, I guess Ka is a concept in specifically the Dark Tower series about fate.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Someone wrote in to point that out to us.
Next up, our good friend Fuji Billy asked an important question. He says, should I have jerk chicken, curry goat, or coconut snapper tonight for dinner with my many, many Mai Tais?
All of those are good options.
Yeah, I believe he's on vacation in Jamaica.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I'd go curry goat.
Yeah, I think I would too.
I had that once. It was a little much for me.
I haven't tried goat. I'd go curry chicken.
It's
Yeah,
goat's
chicken.
goat's a
I'm
little
on the chicken train.
goat's a little intense.
I don't know. I think you're down there. You're on vacation. You can get jerk chicken here. Like, go, explore your inhibitions.
I'd probably go with fish. You're right in the ocean, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good call. The snapper. Next up from, for fuck's sake, CO_W Flanagan. Lot of belly aching over Black Xmas being PG-13. Does a horror remake/reboot owe any fidelity to the original with language and gore?
No.
Personally,
Oh my God. This news about the Black Christmas remake being PG-13 brought out the biggest boners on the internet last week.
Jesus
Like
Christ.
seriously,
Yeah.
if you went to Twitter to complain about this, I can't help you.
Mm.
That's
It does, just to be clear, I have my little interest went to legit zero when I heard that though.
Yeah.
no.
I mean, I didn't go on the internet to complain about it. I
I'm
was just
really
kinda like,
interested in this.
whatever.
The trailer looks really good. It's a
Is
oh,
the
Imogen-
director someone that we know? Like, is it a person that
it's-
I?
It looks
care
like it was
about?
written and directed by women. This
Oh.
is, listen, Blumhouse is a company that's made fantastic PG-13 movies. And basically the director came out and said, like, we focus tested it and decided that this is a movie that would have a really wide appeal and that they felt like they wanted to be able to get out to a younger female audience because they thought it would be empowering, John. And so because the director came out after all the fucking neckbeards on Twitter were like raging about it. Honestly, I felt embarrassed that she was even forced to like address it because of these dum-dums on the internet. Yes, John,
Well,
if you felt that way.
I
I'm forgiving you.
100% agree with Eric. I will caveat it with if you went back 5 years and listened to any episode of this podcast,
Oh, we would have been
where,
enraged.
where a movie was announced as PG-13,
But like it's a different landscape now. Like you can like I think we've seen that you can do like isn't Happy Death Day PG-13?
Yeah.
No.
Mhm.
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
I'm
definitely
pretty
is.
sure it is.
Like that's a
Joe's,
really
no, definitely not.
100% not.
yeah, it's PG-13. That's a really fantastic example of what you can do with that rating. It's also like
Not the
I
version
think a lot
saw.
of these people were people who grew up in the 90s. A 1996 PG-13 and a 2019 PG-13, first of all, are two completely different things. And so we've got to recognize that out of the box. Second of all,
No, that's true.
like we're not in the era of MPAA like just being very aggressively like destroying horror movies anymore. And so you can get away with way more. Like we're not
That's
this
valid.
is always what gets me about this. Like and we talk about it a lot on the show. Like we shouldn't be fighting the battle anymore. Like we won the
Well,
battle. So if
yeah.
every once in a while a filmmaker or a company wants to make a PG-13 horror movie, like really? The last remake was rated R and it was a piece of shit.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
No, it was
Listen,
awful.
I have not really thought about this that much. Like, you've basically convinced me I should watch the movie. Fine. I don't know who's battling other
John,
than the neckbeards on Twitter.
Because you're
which,
not on
like, we should
Twitter,
give them
John. You
time
don't,
of day.
John,
Yeah.
horror movie life happens on Twitter, and you're not on there, and that's fine. That's why one of the reasons why you're precious, John. But
I'm
it's-
unspoiled.
it's happening. Yeah,
you know,
you're pristine.
yeah.
All right, we got a few more to bang through here. Next one from our good friend Nylon Davinger. She says, Our film club Thanksgiving film this year is Motel Hell. People sausage. What is your favorite food-related horror moment?
Is it moment or movie?
It says moment.
Oh, fuck. I can't come up with a single moment.
If only I had forwarded this email to everyone earlier.
Well, I thought it said movie, and I came up with several movies, but I didn't. That was on me. Hey, listen, I didn't read.
I don't love.
Sounds like college John should have told Big World John to
I
get his shit together.
I don't love food horror stuff because I'm usually trying to eat food while I'm watching the movie, and it's like it's gross.
I mean, is like any part of Human Centipede count for this, or
actually, let's refer back to today's Slack conversation and say Bill Goldberg shoving a Christmas turkey leg down James Caan's throat in Santa's sleigh.
I do like in Texas Chainsaw Massacre where he's like hoisting up the chili trophy, and then you slowly start to realize that chili is made out of people. They find a tooth in there. I thought that's clever. All right.
Motel Hell.
Delicatessen, the whole movie.
That actually was the first thing that came to mind when I first read it as movie too.
There you go. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate that.
Yeah, buddy.
Maybe Sweeney Todd. Sweeney Todd's got some good fun food stuff.
Next up, fella who has guested on this beautiful show here, a good friend, Adam Space Lawyer. That's attorney at Space. What was a time you were more disappointed than CC watching The Dead Don't Die? What was a time? Oh, yes. What was a time that you were more disappointed, CC, than watching The Dead Don't Die?
Oh, I should have had time to prepare for this, but movie-wise, what was that movie that Brad Pitt did that was like the mob movie, Killing Them Softly or something? I don't know.
Saw it.
No idea.
Exactly. It was horrible, and I did walk out of that movie, so I would say I was more disappointed in that movie.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
I don't remember that movie. Killing Them Softly?
Joe, a Brad Pitt movie you haven't seen, Joe?
No.
Yeah, 2012.
Oh, all right. That's
wow. I thought it was you. I was to say I thought it was even older than that, but yes, that movie.
Interesting. All right, last one here from good friend Skizbot. What is your go-to all or nothing must-have Thanksgiving meal dish? Which is the worst? I demand all the mashed potatoes and gravy, and cranberry can kiss my ass.
Oh, if I could only have one food on the plate, it would be mashed potatoes with butter.
Yeah, strong agree.
Some gravy.
I would go mashed potatoes mixed with corn, as that is delicious.
Scallop corn.
Or my stuff. I've given away the recipe on Slack for my stuffing, but my stuffing will.
I'm not that into veggies.
I actually might go stuffing in general. Actually,
I'm not that into veggies on Thanksgiving unless it's in mashed or like soup. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like I'm good with some yams that are like whipped up.
I was gonna say sweet potatoes are just like an abomination.
But like if you're just putting green beans on the table, like I'm not here for that. It's not, I do that all year.
Oh, it's got to be in a casserole, right?
Yeah, I'm still.
No.
I'm not there for that.
Oh.
I mean, I'm about straight veggies. Those are totally fine. Give me some like broiled Brussels sprouts. Those are really good.
Yeah, but not on Thanksgiving. I don't know. I'm here to hurt.
I don't really like Thanksgiving.
I'm here to hurt myself.
I don't really like Christmas either. So.
Wow, you just broke Joe's heart.
Sorry.
It's the second time she's been wrong on this episode.
This is the episode that I should have been on. It's okay.
That's it. That's it for tweets.
Beautiful. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. You can help support the show. You can get a live stream every week. You can join our Slack community and do things like share Santa sleigh gifts, which is what we were doing in there today. For anybody who doesn't know, Slack it's just like a message board, basically. Kind of a real-time chat with different channels with topics, and we have like a bunch of our patrons on there. It's really become like a fun little community, and everybody's very welcoming. So if you would like nervous about jumping on, I highly recommend it. When you sign up for Patreon at I believe it's the Belial level and above, you get a link to sign up. If you don't have that and you want it, just email us info@bloodygoodhorror.com and we'll hook you up. John, if we decided on next week, I think we locked in the Lupita Nyong'o movie.
Yeah, I think we were down to Little Monsters, is what you were referring to. Is that if that's a go? Okay. There we are.
Real quick on the Slack stuff. $10 level people have been getting their T-shirts slowly. I apologize. I've been slacking on getting stuff mailed out, and I'm gonna slack even worse because I'm gonna be away for 2 weeks. But they'll start going out again when I get back. And I do have the medals for the 5K folks who participate in the U.S., and those will be going out after I get back too. So stuff's coming in the mail, guys. All right, it takes time.
Love it. And yeah, so we're wrapping up 2019, which means, of course, we're getting ready for the Super John Schnarr's year-end spectacular, which should be a lot of fun. That'll be, I believe we're going to record that the week before Christmas this year, so you get that a little earlier than usual. That'll be our countdown of the top 10, bottom 3 movies of the year as voted on by the BGH staff, so get excited for that. And then we're in reset mode, getting ready for the Roaring 20s, John.
Roaring.
Oh,
20s.
is that we're bringing them back?
Electric sports, bra.
I feel like you would have done really well in the 20s, Joe.
I don't.
You just like to sing everything. I feel like you would have done really well. That was a compliment. I wasn't trying to be an asshole.
I just wasn't sure if you were going like racist or you don't seem to like women, and
and I talk in this voice. It's perfect.
You don't like immigrants, and
Oh Lord.
All right, guys. Anyway, bloody good horror. And hope you enjoy the show next week. What's it called, John? Little Monsters?
Little Monsters.
Is Fred Savage in it?
It's on Hulu. I believe
Howie Mandel.
Yeah.
Streamable on Hulu.
Best scene in Little Monsters is when Howie Mandel pees in that kid's apple juice and then he drinks it the next morning. It's brilliant.
Drinks it.
Yeah.
What was the boy? Boy was like the bad guy's name.
Oh, I don't remember the bad guy's name. Yeah, but he was afraid. They didn't like light.
Yeah.
'Cause they
There's
lived
that
under
like
the bed.
big guy that like lived by the stairs. I'm gonna look into this.
Yeah.
He scared the shit out of me.
It's a great movie. Check it out. Little Monster. This is Little Monsters. All right.
Mm.
Wait, are they both Little Monsters with an S?
The sequel, I assume.
Oh, weird. Okay. Anyway, see you guys next week.
Later.
Bye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.